there was a blog post by Nicholas M. Whittier, and if you guys haven't gotten the chance to read it, it's pretty harsh, but it's on nmwhittier.wordpress.com. And it's spelled nmwhittier.wordpress.com. And he posted up a blog post called Social Dynamics for Smashers, and he just basically kind of talked about awkward interactions. And it's something I've actually talked to my girlfriend a lot about, and also just kind of thought about on my own, like what makes it for me, like if I'm just kind of autopiloting my interactions with people at Smash events, like what I kind of ask myself, like after I interact with like one person, like why do I connect well so much with one person and find that like I can't deal with another person for longer than 2 minutes before like I just want to leave the conversation and interaction. And ultimately, like I think the goal that I have for myself in this is like how do I be a better person and like examine like why is it so difficult for me to connect with certain people, and why is it difficult, or why do I find certain interactions really repulsive, and find that like like it's like a cordial interaction, but like why does like my mind subconsciously shut down like the possibility that we could be friends, or that we could go drink beer together, or we can interact and have a meal and have a good time. And so I really thought about it a lot, and I think it kind of is like the idea of tips and just general advice from my observations of hanging out with hundreds, thousands of people over the years within the community. And also how it affects my ideals of how do I interact with other people, not just in Smash, but people in my workplace, people on the street, people in the bar, people in general. And hopefully this advice comes in a way that people don't dismiss it or get angry at me and say like, Tafo, like who are you to say this? Like you are the most awkward guy ever, you're very cringe, like well, how dare you say these things? But I'm just going to just speak from my experiences on what I find to be very pleasant, and like what makes me more in tune to like want to continue more of an interaction with people, especially strangers that I haven't really met before, don't know really well. And I think for me, like the first interactions, people say like the first impression means a lot, and I really actually kind of do believe it, because it determines the role dynamics between the two people. And the reason why I say this is because if a fan or a person that I'm not really familiar with comes up to me and says, "Hey Tafo, I have a really funny pun for you. I know that you really love puns, and I really love this pun. Do you want to hear it?" Well, so my interaction and the way that I'm going to frame that relationship is in a way that I'm going to be like, okay, this person's a fan and I'm their role model, their idol. And so right then and there, my mind subconsciously creates a relationship that's not really a normal person-to-person thing. It's like a fan talking to me. And if that person just wants, to be a fan, then like, yeah, that's cool. Like, but for me, like, me being an introvert, that's really hard for me to maintain, because it's something that is not very comfortable for me. I do appreciate the sentiment, but the dynamics of the relationship means that I'm subconsciously already filtering that relationship out in a way that it's like, wow, this is like really high energy and it's not something I'm used to. Chances are like it's going to be really hard for me to have a conversation for longer than 5 minutes with this person. And it's no fault to him. The intentions are good. I wouldn't really say it's awkward, but right then and there, the dynamics and the power relationship that's going on between us is that he views me in a certain light and puts me on a pedestal, and I view him as a fan, and therefore we can't really look at each other in the same level unless an intervention happens, or like maybe I break the ice and I say, well, oh, like how's your day doing? Because I could break it down in one of two ways. I could say, hey, that's really nice. I really appreciate you as a fan. I really thank you for supporting me. But that still kind of creates this power dynamic where we're not seeing each other on the same level to see that we have a normal relationship. The other way I could really break this down and react to it and say, well, I thank you, really appreciate it. And then I can just say like, okay, like how's your experience at Big House? How are you enjoying this event? And that puts us on a relatable structure where we're seeing each other as two human beings and not this like fan idol type of relationship. And so point being, if you want to have normal reactions with people. And this is really important with your local events. You have top players, but they are very normal people. They are very approachable, and they just want to be treated normally. And so you could just say like, hey, like, dude, like, how are you enjoying your event today? And those type of questions, as opposed to kind of doing the fanboy thing, although a lot of people come with good intent with those, is that by asking like, how's your day or how's your bracket going, now the person can interact with you because it's a very normal, healthy conversation where you're setting the tone as, I'm a competitor and you're a competitor, and we're on the same page, and we can build a very normal, healthy, functioning relationship there. And it's those type of people that kind of approach me and just say, oh, how's your bracket doing, or how's commentary, that I can say like, oh, like, yeah, commentary was pretty good, I really appreciated it with Fendi, and I go like, and then I can continue the response and say, how's your pools, or how's your day going? Have you been warming up, or how have your friendlies going? And then we can have this relationship and build with one another. And so if we're going to try to break down God culture, the complaint that like the VIP rooms and we're trying to put people on pedestals, the one way you can break it down is by setting the structure in a way that it's like very normal. And in most cases, as long as the player has time, like granted, like I can't be friends with 3,000 people. It's just not realistic. But at the very least, like I can have a very normal human interaction with you. And most people are very approachable. And although we have larger than life personalities, like even Mango, like Mango just loves having normal conversations at the end of the day. Like I love having normal conversations. It's very low energy. It's very natural. And I don't have to pretend to do something like that I don't want to be. And I think a lot of the issues that we have in the community where we have this like kind of quote unquote awkwardness is because we put people on different pedestals or different light or things. Granted, like, I do write articles on players and I talk about their gameplay and how it's really cool, but at the end of the day, like my interactions with them, and you'll see this with a lot of top players, is just very normal. We're just people. And so how this applies to other things too is like, when I used to get starstruck, by other people, and but now, like, that confidence to realize that, hey, like, we're all people, like, at the end of the day, like, we all sleep, we all go pee, we all eat. And that's actually given me a lot more normal conversations with other people in other industries of people that I greatly admire. So, like, I've gone to meet, people very high up in other companies. I got to meet, sports stars. And I find that just by having this very like normal interaction, like when I meet a celebrity, for dinner, like at a restaurant, I just go like, oh, like I might not disturb them because it's kind of weird. But let's say they're on the street and they're interacting with people, I might just say like, oh, like how's your dinner or how's your night, as opposed to starting with this, oh my gosh, like I really love your movies, like blah blah blah, like. I find that my interactions are a lot more healthy. And even like, when you talk to your boss or you talk to your people in work over, there's a power dynamic by like bringing in normal conversations where you can relate to them on a human level also helps there too. Like I was usually very intimidated by my bosses, in my past jobs, but now like we interact very normally. Like I ask about the kids. I ask how their day is going, or like, was there anything stressful? And yeah, we do talk work, and I do still have to report to him. We still have that dynamic, but I find that like the confidence that I personally brewed through these interactions by just giving the idea that everybody's normal and that no one's really better than anybody. Like everybody has their God-given rights and everything. But I find that like at the end of the day, like that's what I feel is the heart of NMW's post, because it's harsh reading and it's a little pompous and eccentric in certain ways, but hopefully this like reaches out to people, maybe people that are intimidated by talking to top players or reaching out to their favorite player, commentator, whatever, that at the end of the day we're all people. And I hope that nobody really makes it out to be that we're bigger than we actually are. Like one day Melee is gonna die. One day that somebody's gonna be better than me. One day somebody's gonna be better than Mango or Armada. Eventually, eventually our crowns are broken, and we are forgotten in the long history of the human race or whatever. And so yeah, I hope that helps, and that pretty much. I hope that it helps somebody out there.